Welcome back to the Movie A Day podcast, the one and only podcast that reviews a different film each and every day. My name is Grant, and I'm your host for this podcast. With me, as always, to dive into the world of cinema, we have Sky
Hello, everyone.
and Ryan.
Hello.
So, as you may have gathered from the title and the picture of the video, we are covering Scott Pilgrim versus the World for this episode, directed by none other than Edgar Wright and starring Michael Cera as the titular character of Scott Pilgrim. I'm not even going to attempt to list the rest of the actors that are in this movie because there are a lot. And you can watch this movie, by the way, on Netflix. So, Sky, you want to lead us into our initial thoughts?
Yeah. So this is my second or third time seeing this film. And like every Edgar Wright film, and I would say especially this one, honestly, this might have, well, this or Hot Fuzz, but the attention to detail is like insane. There's just stuff in the background always. Even like the opening credits have like little symbols next to like the character that like is going to relate to them in the future of the movie. I mean, there's so much detail that went into this. You can tell he like really had a vision. The editing is amazing. All the acting, which a lot of it's over the top, but it's like in the best way over the top. uh, the story's great. The visual effects are actually really great. I didn't like, for whatever reason, I didn't like remember that, but like they actually did like a really good job doing that and making it feel like video game or like a video game world, I guess. But yeah, I would 100% recommend this film. Like I said, I've seen this I think 3 times now, and I'm gonna continue to watch this. So, Ryan, what about you?
Well, this was my first time watching it, believe it or not. I've heard of this film. I've heard of it. I just never got the chance to watch it, but I'm glad that I did because this was probably one of the most entertaining movies I've seen in a long time. And Edgar Wright always does a great job. I've seen Hot Fuzz and I've seen Baby Driver, and those are great movies as well, and Shaun of the Dead. But yeah, this one, like you said, Sky, and all of the categories, it just kind of nails each and every one of them. Like the visual effects were really cool. Like they kept the video game theme going, like right from the first second of the movie. Like even the Universal like intro was video game themed, and the opening credits was really cool. How they like add these like little side notes, and they add like little side notes like in the beginning and like throughout the movie too. And it's like just like the attention to detail, like you said, was like really good, and the acting is good, and it's over the top, yeah, and they do it on purpose, and it's funny, and yeah, there's just so much that goes into it. I mean, when we get into spoiler talks, like we're gonna talk about it, but yeah, great movie.
Yeah, definitely. If you grew up reading comic books or playing video games, this movie is a gem. It is just a masterclass in editing, cinematography, and just has a style that is truly, really not really matched in any live action movie. I would say the only thing that really comes close is a movie that came out this year, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It definitely has a similar style and pace going for it. But I really, really like this movie. There are some issues I have with it that we can get into in spoilers. But I will say this movie probably isn't for everyone, because it does heavily rely on having a comic book / video game feel. So if you watch the trailer and think, I don't know about this one, then I would maybe not recommend it in that sense. But for pretty much everyone else, I would definitely tell you to check this one out. And I think from there we can just dive into spoilers.
So like right from the get go, like this movie like just grabs your attention, which is what I like. I like the intro, like where like they're kind of you don't really know who the characters are right away, and then they kind of give like a little synopsis off to the side of like who they are, and they definitely did it way better in this movie than they did it in a movie that is probably the worst film I've ever seen, which is Suicide Squad. And I mean, this movie did it great, but like, yeah, I don't know. I like that. I like that about it, and I like the pacing in this movie because like it just like never let its foot off of the gas, like not even for like 2 minutes. Like it's just always like next and on to the next scene, and like the edits like just keep you entertained because it's like, oh, that was a cool edit, whoa, that was a cool edit, and like you're just like, holy cow, what's happening right now? Like everything's just keeps on going, and yeah, that's how you want an action movie to be.
Yeah, I would, yeah, agree with all that. I love how the aspect ratio changes when they get ready to fight. Like it gives it like a video game feel. I don't know why. It just reminds me of like playing a video game and on like an old TV. Um, but yeah, just even the choreography of the fights is like just like amazing. It's like it just yeah, it literally feels like you're watching like a video game live action. Well, and like a comic book, yeah, as Grant said. It's yeah. I'm actually interested to hear, I guess, the complaints that you have, Grant.
Yeah. So while the movie does move at a breakneck pace, it does take about 25 or 30 minutes or so to get into the real meat and potatoes of the story, where he fights the first evil X, where you like really get a sense of like where the movie's going. And it kind of makes up for it by having this unique style and like crazy editing, just stuff going on in the beginning to kind of like keep you invested and interested. And then my other issue is with Scott Pilgrim himself and like his relationship with what's Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character's name? Ramona Flowers. It kind of just feels like really really quick in the beginning where they kind of get into each other, and then really quick at the end as well, where he gets back together with her. I actually like the alternate ending to this movie better, where he ends up with knives. It kind of feels a little more natural, and like it's a little jarring at the end when she's walking away and knives like, go get her. I don't know. It kind of felt a little weird to me, but
No,
definitely
I would.
Yeah, I
very
agree
minor
with that.
complaints compared
I
to like the rest of the movie.
I honestly thought the movie, yeah, would have been better if it would have ended with Knives, because like Knives was the first girl that he was with in the beginning, and we don't know how they met, right? Like they just came into the movie and like that was his girlfriend, and yeah, then Ramona Flowers comes along, and that's like the girl he's seen in his dreams. So like that's who he was destined to be with, but obviously like throughout the movie, like she had issues where he had to, like fight all the exes of Ramona Flowers, and then he just kind of like shoves Knives off to the side, and then in the end like Knives comes back, and they're friends again, and then she tells him, yeah, to go after. I didn't know there was an alternate ending to this, to just now, just now that you told me, but yeah, it kind of makes sense that they made an alternate ending.
Yeah, I'm not really sure because this is based on a comic. I'm not really sure if the comic ends with him being with Knives or if it ends with him being with Ramona. But in the movie, at least, it definitely feels better with him ending up with Knives.
I would agree with that. That's probably my only complaint with the film would be him ending up with Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character, Ramona. But other than that, I'd say the stuff at the beginning, how it takes 25 minutes, that didn't really bother me because I feel like you kind of need to get to know how Scott Pilgrim is with women. Like you learn a lot about like his relationships in the past and like how he is in them, and then how he's now dating Knives. And I think that is like, and it's all done in a very entertaining way, like with the style and everything, like you were saying. But yeah, that part, I guess, I feel like that actually needs to be in there. But I would 100% agree with you with the complaint about Ramona, because like I think it's weird that they even get together, I guess. Like, cause he like Knives is like infatuated with them, and he was into her, and then she just shows up in a dream, and then he's like, I must have this woman, and she's like not into him at all, and he just keeps asking her out, and then she's like, okay, and then she's literally just like come stay in my bed, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're moving pretty quickly now. And then yeah, at the end, like you said, Grant, like
Yeah.
the only thing I would say though, like if someone was like defending the choice to be with Ramona, like that is like he fought all of her exes. It does seem a little weird that he wouldn't be with her, I guess, in that sense. But like I do think it works 100% better with Knives than with Ramona, for sure.
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna add is like how you mentioned that the relationship between Michael Cera's character and then Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character, and how like it moves so fast. I think that's just because like that's just how the pace of the movie goes. You know, like
It's true.
It's just the pace of the movie, and then the relationship just kind of takes off. And that's how it would happen in a comic book, because like it's like, oh, this is my fantasy girlfriend, like it's got to work out, you know, type of deal. But yeah, I do agree with like how it ended and stuff. And I just like when I was just sitting there, because it was my first time watching it, and after the first X shows up, and I'm like, okay, that was random, but like, how are the other 6 gonna come into play? Like, how is he gonna like run into them? Like, and it's just so convenient how like all the other ones just like fall into place, and like he has to defeat them all. Because I was just like wondering like the entire movie when she's like, yeah, you're gonna have to defeat my like evil exes, and it's like, how is he gonna like? Are they all in the same city? Like, how is that gonna happen?
Yeah, that's where like the comic book comes into play.
Right.
Like it kind of it's self-aware with how, you know,
Yeah.
convenient
Oh,
everything
it definitely
is.
is.
Like
Yeah.
the acting, like when Chris Evans comes out and of his trailer, and they're playing the Universal theme, and he like cracks his neck to it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
There's just so many great moments and scenes and lines of dialogue in this movie.
Yeah, it definitely had me like laughing throughout too, which is it's good, because like I always say that comedy and horror are the 2 hardest genres to write for and to like make movies for, because comedies are really hard to make because everybody has a different sense of humor. So like what Grant was saying, like if you're not into like comic books / video games, like you're not gonna really enjoy this movie as much, and they have like a different target audience. But like the comedy like style of this film, like, you know, like people that don't like comic books and video games might find some parts of this movie funny just because of how it is. But like that's just you know, that's just part of being a comedy. Like you just don't know. Like, you know, some people are gonna be like, oh, that's funny, but then you watch it so many times, it's like, how many times am I gonna laugh at this because I've seen it? Like comedies, you know, like this one has a high replay value just because of how entertaining and how action packed this film is. But nobody's gonna like watch this film like 100 times and be like, okay, it was funny. It was just as funny the 100th time as it was the first time seeing it. Because like comedy, like eventually is just gonna run out, because you're gonna be like, I've seen it. I know this one liner. You know, I know what it is, and like that's why it's like a really hard genre to like write for, in my opinion. But
yeah, for comedies, in order for a comedy to really separate itself and for me to really enjoy it, it has to do things other than just have funny dialogue. Edgar Wright in all of his movies has really neat camera tricks and editing that turn into jokes themselves without any words having to be said. Just like his transitions, the way things enter and exit the frame, and just like everything else that you wouldn't ever think to even look for, he implements into this movie and all his other movies for that matter.
And yeah, I think that's what's gonna separate like his films from like other films, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, he uses editing like masterfully. It's ridiculous. Like all the quick edits, and then it's like a slow cut to Scott Pilgrim tying his shoe for like 10 seconds. I mean, like he's like so good at
it's
that.
It's creative, and that's what's gonna, like, you know, that's what's gonna keep his films above the rest, you know, because like if you watch like other like comedies that rely off of just dialogue, it's just like, okay, that was funny the first time, but I don't think I'm gonna watch it a second time because I've heard all the jokes. But you're not really seeing anything that's funny.
Well, I'd also say with this film and most of Edgar Wright's films, if not all, like also the attention to detail, right? Like I even in my third time watch, like I noticed in the background that are fitting like in with the story, like the 7X's in the background, like Grant you pointed out when he's walking down the street, like a bunch of like symbols all over the place. So yeah, I think that adds for like the replay value as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But as far as
I'm not bashing this movie in any way, by the way. I'm just kind of like bashing comedy genre as a whole, because like there are some just terrible comedies out there that are just really dry and
Yeah. I always get recommended comedies.
It's nice to see one like this.
And people are like, "Oh, this movie's really funny," and I watch it, and it's the writing is pretty funny. Like there's some really funny one-liners, but I end up forgetting most, if not all of it, in like a week, and it's kind of just a bunch of movies like grouped into like one. I don't know. Comedy is like a really hard genre to really separate yourself, unless you are Edgar Wright.
That's because people only focus, like you said, Grant, on the dialogue part of comedy. You can be funny in like so many different ways. I mean, with like the camera. I mean, I guess to change gears a little bit, to go back to what you were saying, Ryan, about, well, I guess, and you, Grant, about this movie not being for everyone. I would agree. And that mainly for me would be because of the editing and the time jumps. Because like when he does start to like Ramona, like it literally cuts probably like, I mean, we don't even know how much time, but like literally like each time you see him, he's in like a different place talking to different people. It could be months that went by. We have no idea. And again, if you don't know what a comic or like how comic books work or like video games, you would just be like super jarred by that, I'm sure. And like you wouldn't, I guess, get the benefit of that. But yeah.
I tend to be one of those people as well. Like it's like bothered by like extra text on the screen that's like unnecessary. But obviously with this movie, it is just like really hitting home the comic book and video game feel.
Yeah, it's all 100%.
I could see that being another thing if you aren't familiar with those two, like the comic book and the video game aspects. All the extra text, like either describing characters or like flying across the screen as like sound effects, or just like subtitles as for like the next chapter or the next location and just everything like that. I think it's all used like perfectly, but I could see where some people might get a little too jarred.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else have any final thoughts with this?
Not
Not
really. I mean, I could talk about so many scenes, but I would just be talking about the scene essentially.
Yeah, if we went scene by scene,
yeah.
I would take a lot
about it. We could be here all day.
It was something though.
I guess we could say
glad I got to watch
where
it.
this.
I'm probably gonna 100% buy this movie for sure, but
Yeah, I guess we could say where this ranks in with all our other Edgar Wright movies that we've seen. And for me, it's below probably Baby Driver, Hot Fuzz, and Shaun of the Dead.
it's below all three for you.
Yeah, not by much. I mean,
Yeah, it's really hard to like rank, like to rank with his films just because like they're so like well done. Sky,
I would probably
would you do?
agree with you, Grant, with that.
Yeah, because I'm
Hot
kind
Fuzz
of
is
leaning
definitely
towards that too. But
I would have this and Baby Driver maybe even par, even though Baby Driver is definitely more like accessible for everyone. Like more people overall will just be able to relate to that film versus this. So that's where I'd maybe give Baby Driver the edge. Like, whereas this movie, I couldn't show everyone. I feel like people like might be annoyed by it. Like, you could show them Baby Driver, Shaun of the Dead, or Hot Fuzz, and like I think they would, like, more people as a whole would be able to enjoy those movies compared to Scott Pilgrim. But yeah, I would say. Well, I guess Ryan, you might not have seen this one. What would you say is his worst film then, Grant? Because I think we'll probably have the same.
Yeah, it's The World's End for me.
Yep.
Even though, like, I don't really
It's
have
still
any
good.
major. Yeah, I think I have that one at a 7. But yeah, I don't know. The other ones just have so much more like iconography and like unique scenes. Whereas like I find myself remembering the least from World's End.
Yeah.
Even though if I probably watched it again right now, I would enjoy every second of it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. None of his movies are bad by any means. But that would probably be my least favorite for sure. But yeah, so I guess this will kind of be in the middle then of his movies, it sounds like, for us. I guess, Ryan, I know you haven't seen all of them, but
Yeah, I just love like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and Baby Driver a lot. So it'd be kind of difficult to like rank it in the middle or above those. So I would kind of side with Grant's decision. I'm putting them
Especially
right below.
after you've only seen Scott Pilgrim once too.
Yeah,
His
exactly.
movies
That's why I
really
say like it's hard for me to rank it because I've only seen it like once. But
Yeah, all of his movies really reward multiple viewings. You notice a lot more because his movies just go by so quick and there's so many jokes to be had.
yeah, I would say I don't think he's ever had like pacing issues. Like, he knows like the exact amount of time that needs to be in the film, it seems like. I mean, I need to watch, I guess, At World's End again, but besides that, for the rest of them, they're just like so smooth.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Should we get into our ratings then?
let's do it. Who wants to rate first? I guess I can go first since it's my first time watching it. So I gave this
what do you
movie after my first time watching it. I gave this movie a 9 because of like the wow factor. Like I was pretty entertained like throughout the entire movie, and it's right now it's at a 9 for me. I don't think it's gonna go up to a 10. Definitely more on at the 8 side for me, but I had it at an 8 like initially, but then I bumped it up to a 9.
Yeah, I have it at an 8 right now. And I think it's comfortably sitting there after watching it. I don't even know how many times I've seen this movie.
See, oddly enough, I had mine at an 8 before watching it for, I think, the third time. And I actually moved it up to a 9. Just because, like, I saw more stuff in it, and I don't know. There's so much detail in his movies that, yeah, I don't know. This time, I feel like I got, like, a decent more out of it, so. But I would agree. It's definitely not, there are some, minor issues I have with it, so it won't ever be a 10 for me, but
Yeah,
it's going to be 8 or a 9 for sure.
it takes a lot to be a 10.
It does, especially in this podcast, apparently.
I think I'm the only one so far that's given
We need
a
to.
movie a 10, right? With You Were Never Really Here, I think I'm the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I got some movies that have given 10s. Maybe I should recommend those movies.
Yeah. I mean, we've probably seen them all.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm down to revisit.
Yeah. So, for tomorrow, we have a very special podcast coming your way. We all mutually decided for this episode to cover the Raid Redemption and the Raid 2,
Hell
which
yeah.
have, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, the best choreographed action scenes. I guess
don't
best
even.
choreographed, best shot, best
You don't
acted,
even have to
best
go out on a
edited.
whim and say that. You could just say
that's
that.
fact.
That is facts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're just going to do one
The
big
Raid
podcast
franchise.
talking about both of those films. And
Gonna get the 2 movie a day podcast tomorrow.
yeah, it's going to be spicy.
Yeah, as far as the availability of these, the Raid Redemption, I'm pretty sure is on Netflix.
Yeah, it is.
The Raid 2, however, I don't think is on Netflix, Amazon, or Hulu. But I think, or I guess I know, you can go out and buy it on Blu-ray, and it's really not that expensive. I think it's, at this point, maybe $10.
Yeah, I have the Raid collection, and I bought that for like 15, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah,
I
they've
think it
been
was like
out for a
15.
while now.
So you can buy both of them in one package.
Yeah, if you're watching this episode and you have any remote interest in action movies at all, I would just recommend going out and watching the first one. And if you like that, just go out and buy both because they are fantastic. Spoilers for my thoughts.
Yeah, I would agree.
So yeah, with that out of the way, if you guys like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well as leave a like and a comment. As a new podcast, we would love to hear your thoughts, suggestions, and recommendations. To keep up with updates and other news regarding this podcast, follow our Twitter and like our Facebook page listed in the description below. You guys have anything you want to add?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. See you tomorrow.